The night I got promoted, I thought my life was finally coming together. I had worked at Hamilton and Crest for 4.5 years. First as an intern making less than minimum wage, then as a junior marketing associate, grinding out strategy decks at 2 a.m., and finally as team lead, slowly building a name for myself in a department known for chewing people up and spitting them out. And when my boss, Valerie, called me into her office on a rainy Tuesday afternoon and offered me the senior strategist role, I actually cried, like real tears, in her glass office, in front of 2 other directors. She laughed and told me, "You earned it. You've been a rock." I texted Ethan, my boyfriend of 3 years, before I even left the room. Me, "I got it. I actually got it. We're celebrating tonight." He replied 2 minutes later. Ethan, "Proud of you. Got something I need to tell you too. Can we talk after?" I didn't think anything of it. Turns out I should have. We met at our favorite bar downtown, the one with the overpriced cocktails and the wall of plants nobody ever watered. I came straight from the office, still buzzing with adrenaline, a little tipsy from the surprise champagne toast my team threw me. I was beaming. He wasn't. He looked like he hadn't slept. Fidgety. Couldn't meet my eyes. The kind of anxious I'd only seen from him once, when his dad went into emergency surgery last year. "What's wrong?" I asked, still holding his hand. He didn't even look up. "I need to tell you something, and I didn't want to ruin your night, but I can't keep lying." My heart dropped so fast I felt it in my throat. He kept going. "I've been seeing someone. It started a few months ago. I didn't mean for it to happen." I just sat there, trying to hear what he wasn't saying. My mind was scrambling to guess who. A coworker? His ex? But nothing could have prepared me for what came next. "It's Valerie." I blinked. "I'm sorry." "What?" He looked up at me for the first time, and in that 1 second I could see it was true. The shame, the panic, the resignation. "My boss?" I asked, louder than I meant to. "The first time it wasn't planned," he said quickly. "We met at a fundraiser in March, remember? The one you skipped because of that deadline. We just talked. But then she invited me to a client dinner." He kept talking, but I couldn't hear anything after that. It was like someone turned the volume down on the world. Valerie, the same woman who'd mentored me, who had just promoted me. The woman I had thanked, cried in front of, admired. My boyfriend had been sleeping with my boss. I left the bar without saying a word. He followed me halfway down the block, calling my name, saying it was a mistake, that he wanted to come clean because he still loved me. But the damage was done. This wasn't just betrayal. It was strategic. They'd kept it quiet for months. He had been in our apartment, eating dinner with me, listening to me vent about work stress while he was sneaking around with the woman signing my paychecks. And now, on the night I finally won, he was pulling the rug out from under me. I didn't sleep that night. I sat on my kitchen floor, still in my blazer and heels, trying to understand how I missed the signs. All those late nights he said he was at the gym. The weird tension in Valerie's voice the week before when she asked if I was doing okay at home. The client dinner in May, she told me, was invite only. The pieces were all there. I just never thought to put them together. Because who expects the people they trust most to team up against them? The next day, I had to go to work. I had to walk into that same glass office, sit across from Valerie in the leadership meeting, and pretend like I didn't want to scream. She smiled at me like nothing had happened, congratulated me again in front of the team, called me a rising star. I wanted to rip the whole building apart. Instead, I sat there with my notepad open, nodding along to strategy briefs, while inside my entire world was burning. That entire week I lived in a kind of emotional limbo, stuck between two versions of myself. There was the outside me, the newly promoted, respected strategist who smiled in meetings, delivered presentations, answered emails with phrases like "circling back on this" and "looping you in." And then there was the real me, the woman who had gone home every night and stared at a blank wall, not even knowing whether to cry or scream. The woman whose boyfriend had shattered her trust and whose boss had obliterated the one place she thought she was safe. By Friday, I couldn't take it anymore. I needed answers. I needed her to say it out loud. Valerie was sitting in her office when I walked in unannounced. The door was open, but I didn't knock. I didn't even speak. I just shut the door behind me and stood there. She looked up from her laptop. "Everything okay?" she asked. Calm, cool, too calm. I didn't sit. "You've been sleeping with Ethan." Silence. I watched the words land. Her mouth parted slightly, but she didn't deny it. She didn't even look surprised. She just exhaled, long, slow, like a balloon losing air. "I figured he'd tell you," she said softly, as if that made any of this better. "I told him it needed to end." "How generous of you," I snapped. She stood up, walked to the other side of her desk, and leaned against it like we were just two colleagues having a chat, like she wasn't the center of my entire personal collapse. "It wasn't planned," she said. "We met at that fundraiser in March. He said things between you two had been strained, that you were married to your job." My jaw clenched. "And you believed that gave you permission?" I asked. "To betray someone who's looked up to you since day one?" She actually had the audacity to look hurt. "I didn't plan for this to happen," she repeated. "But we connected. I can't explain it." "You don't have to explain it," I said, taking a step back. "I'm not your therapist. I'm your employee." And just like that, the line was drawn. I wasn't there to beg. I wasn't there to cry. I was there to tell her I knew, and that I wasn't going to let her gaslight her way out of it. That night, I packed Ethan's things into 2 trash bags and left them outside the apartment door. I texted him the address of a storage unit where he could pick up the rest of his stuff in 2 weeks. No calls, no drama, no parting words. He didn't argue, which honestly hurt more than if he had. The silence between us said everything. At work, things got messier. Valerie stopped calling on me in meetings. Projects I was supposed to lead were reassigned. Slack messages I used to get in real time started going silent. People avoided eye contact in the break room like I had some invisible scarlet letter across my chest. It didn't take long to figure out what was happening. Valerie wasn't just backing away, she was freezing me out, trying to slowly push me out of the promotion she gave me. I documented everything, every meeting I was removed from, every ignored message, every last-minute exclusion from decisions I had previously been involved in. I wasn't going down without a record, and then I did what I should have done the minute Ethan confessed. I called HR, not to be vindictive, to protect myself, to let them know that what had started as a personal betrayal had now bled into retaliation. The meeting with HR was clinical, detached. They nodded a lot, took notes, thanked me for my transparency. They said they'd look into it. I thought that would be the end of it. A quiet whisper behind closed doors, a warning, maybe a suggestion that I transfer to another team. But what I didn't know, what I couldn't have known, was that I wasn't the first one. There had been another woman on our team, one who left suddenly 6 months earlier, and she had filed a similar complaint against Valerie. Her name was Elise. She had been on the creative side of our team, smart, funny, always the first one to speak up in brainstorms. Everyone loved her. And then, out of nowhere, she was gone. Official story? Personal reasons? Real story? I didn't find out until 2 days after my HR meeting when I got a message on LinkedIn. "Hey, I heard you talk to HR. You're not crazy. I've been there too. Want to talk?" It was from Elise. My heart nearly stopped when I saw her name. She hadn't posted anything in months. I always assumed she moved on to something better, maybe relocated. Instead, she'd been waiting, watching. I messaged her back instantly. We spoke on the phone that night for almost 2 hours, and what she told me made my skin crawl. Turns out, Valerie had a pattern. Elise had started reporting directly to her just a few months before she left. The dynamic was friendly at first, supportive, then personal. She asked a lot of questions about my boyfriend, Elise said. At first it felt like she was just trying to relate, but then she started showing up at events I mentioned in passing, started texting him. It spiraled from there. Long story short, Valerie and Elise's boyfriend crossed the line, just like with Ethan. Only back then, Elise didn't know what to do. She was younger, newer, less confident, and Valerie had seniority and influence. HR gave her the same, "we'll look into it" line they gave me. So she left, quietly, with no backup, no justice. But when my complaint came in, it wasn't so easy to ignore. 2 complaints, same woman, same pattern. Within a week, Valerie was placed on administrative leave pending investigation. The entire office buzzed with speculation. No one said anything directly to me, but the shift in energy was obvious. Suddenly, people remembered how weird she'd been lately, how toxic the environment had become. The same people who had looked through me in the break room now wanted to make awkward small talk. I kept my head down and stayed focused. Elise and I kept talking. We weren't close friends, but there was a kind of sisterhood in shared betrayal. She told me she felt relieved seeing someone else speak up. "She picked the wrong one this time," she said. "You didn't run." She was right. I stayed. Not for her. Not even for me, really, but because no one gets to burn your world down and keep the matches. A month later, HR called me in again. Valerie had officially resigned. No termination, no headline, just a quiet, PR-wrapped exit. She was gone. And suddenly, I could breathe again. The strange part? I wasn't happy. I wasn't even angry anymore. I was just tired. Tired of trying to make people see me, believe me, value me without stepping over me. Tired of giving everything, in work, in love, and getting betrayal in return. So I started thinking about leaving, not because I was defeated, but because I was finally ready to choose myself. 2 weeks after Valerie's exit, I submitted my resignation. A higher-up from another department pulled me aside, tried to talk me out of it. "You survived this. You're respected. You have a future here." I smiled politely and said, "That's exactly why I'm leaving. Because I wanted a future that wasn't shaped by survival. I wanted to build something on my own terms." Ethan reached out one last time. A text. "I saw you're leaving H&C. Just wanted to say I'm sorry." For all of it? I never replied. There are some things you don't heal from by reopening. Some doors don't deserve to be cracked open again, not even to slam them shut. I walked out of Hamilton and Crest on a rainy Thursday afternoon, poetic, really, carrying a single box of desk stuff and the weight of 4.5 years I was finally putting down. No goodbye party, no speech. Just a few tight hugs from people who had seen the worst of it unfold, and one "you're brave," whispered quietly by a junior associate I barely knew. I didn't feel brave. I felt raw. But under all the fear, there was something else rising. Relief. For the first time in years, I wasn't performing. Not as the overachiever, not as the perfect partner, not as the smiling, unbreakable team player who kept working through betrayal. I was finally fully mine again. I spent the next month sleeping in, cooking for one, and not answering emails that started with "just circling back." I picked up freelance work here and there, brand audits, social strategy, nothing fancy, just enough to pay rent and keep my head above water. It was quiet, peaceful, until I got an email from a name I hadn't seen in months. Kelsey Romano, former CMO at a competing agency. We'd met once at a conference and bonded over bad coffee and the horror of deck formatting. She had left corporate life a while back to start a boutique firm on the West Coast. Her subject line? "You still want to change the game?" Turns out she'd heard about what happened at H&C. Not the gossip, the real story. Elise had filled her in. "I want someone who knows what it means to fight for their voice," Kelsey said on our Zoom call. "Someone who doesn't just pitch ideas, but protects them. Someone like you." She offered me a role on the spot. Creative director, fully remote, full freedom, full salary. I accepted. Not just because it was a dream opportunity, but because it came from a woman who valued strength without exploitation. No games, no glass ceilings, no stolen boyfriends in corner offices. 3 months into the new job, I finally felt like I was living again. I had space, I had purpose, I had clarity. And then, one morning, I saw her, Valerie, in a headline. A quiet LinkedIn post announcing that she'd launched a consultancy for women in leadership. The irony nearly made me laugh out loud. The caption read, "Helping women own their power and lead with integrity." I didn't comment, didn't share, didn't rage post. I just closed the tab and went back to work. Because that was the difference between us. She needed to appear powerful. I just was. And Ethan? Last I heard, he moved back to Michigan. No mutuals, no social media, no goodbye. Just gone. I don't miss him. I don't hate him. He's just a chapter I finished reading. One I'll never open again. Some nights, I still think about that moment at the bar. The exact second he told me it was her. And how that promotion, the thing I thought was the peak of my career, ended up marking the start of everything falling apart. But now I see it differently. That wasn't the end of my story. That was the beginning of it finally being mine.